Thanks for joining us here on the Bearcats Sports Network. It's time for our first part of our three-part season preview of the 2019 McKendree football program. We're joined by head coach Mike Babcock. And coach, let's go ahead and take a look at the offense first. Last year, a record-setting year in many different ways for the Bearcats offense. The most prolific offensive scoring team in program history, a lot of honors and accolades, but most of those key cogs are gone from the program. A lot of new guys looking to step in. Give me your general impressions of the offense to this date.
Definitely a different team. You know, I mean, the last season, you know, had a lot of seniors, had a lot of guys that got a lot of reps, made a lot of big plays. You know, most importantly, having a senior quarterback that was a starter for 2.5 seasons. You know, when there's a changing of the guards, it's going to be a little bit different. So we'll be a little bit different as far as the guys that are running the routes, the guys that are blocking up front, you know, even the guy that's slinging it. So, you know, hopefully we can be on all cylinders when game one rolls around this next week. And, you know, I think we're pretty close to being there, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Let's start under center for the Bearcats. Obviously, you alluded to Reese Metcalf, 2.5-year starter for the Bearcats, no longer with the program as he has graduated and moved on. And you've got some young faces ready to call the signals for the Bearcats. Talk about the quarterbacks for 2019.
You know, I mean, I think we've got, you know, 4 to 5, you know, really good quarterbacks. You know, even to date, I'm not ready to say exactly who the starter is going to be, just because they're still competing. I mean, they're doing a really nice job. You know, some of the, you know, from oldest to youngest, you know, I've got a guy, you know, Brendan Dickman, who's been in the, you know, program for a little while. You know, he's doing some nice things. You know, Turner Poland, who is a redshirt freshman from Shelbyville, had a good redshirt year, is doing a lot of nice things, has a really good arm, good leadership. Even brought in a transfer quarterback, Eli Olteen, who's doing some nice things in camp, and even a true freshman in Caleb Fisher, you know, who's kind of running around, unbelievable athlete. Again, it's a good position. You know, hopefully that, you know, at the turn of this week we can kind of nail down who the guy is going to be and hopefully get on all cylinders by the weekend.
Despite having the young quarterback, it's good to have a veteran in the backfield as Jace Franklin. Looks like he's going to get the start this year for McKendree at tailback. He's a guy that put up almost 700 yards last year in his first year with the program, and then a lot of young guys behind him.
Absolutely. You know, Jace is a very good leader on this football team. You know, he's very fast, especially in the open field. You know, he sees holes very, very well. So, you know, I'm expecting big things from him, you know, this year. And, you know, even to complement him, I've got a redshirt freshman running back in Jaden Mitchell, you know, who's had a nice spring and has really put himself in a position to be successful. And even a guy that's gotten a lot of touches over the last year or two is Jericho Johnson, big running back, thick running back, great kid. You know, all 3 of those guys will get playing time and, you know, hopefully be able to move the ball a little bit.
On the edges, some of the all-conference players gone from a year ago in terms of Jalen Williams, Josh Reve, guys like that, but you've got a lot of veteran leadership coming back, and Matt Cole, and also Stephen Towns, a guy who saw a lot of action as a freshman, mixed in with some young guys as well in the receiving corps.
Yeah, you know, those guys are really kind of taking control of that group. You know, we don't want to have any letdowns. You know, just because we have a new team doesn't mean that our standard doesn't change, and so that's definitely true on the outside. So I think Matt and Steve are having very good camps. You know, even guys that haven't gotten a lot of playing time with Tyler Seaver, Jeremiah Harris, Ronald Welch, Jordan Miller, you know, all of those guys I think have done a very nice job. You know, even Jake Bachman. So again, just kind of a good group of redshirt freshmen. You know, Jordan Miller being a little bit older, Kyle Harris, who's gotten a lot of, you know, playing time, especially on special teams. He's an all-around, you know, great guy, can't miss with Kyle. But again, just overall, I think we're a solid wide receiver group. We're looking for that kind of playmaker mentality like Jalen Williams and Josh Reve had a little bit last year. Hopefully we can kind of keep going with that and pick that up a little bit.
And then when the Bearcats throw the tight end to the mix, as it will transition to the offensive line, you've got some veterans, Jace Kennedy, Steve Ledlove, guys that can do a lot of different things. They can block, they can catch passes at key times, and really help that offense.
You know, and I think, you know, you alluded it to, that's what their strong suit is. You know, isn't just being a great athlete on the perimeter or an extra offensive lineman. You know, they can do both. And both have had solid springs. They've had solid camps. Again, leaders on this football team. I'm very, very excited to see what those two guys can do. Come next Saturday, both in the run blocking and out on the perimeter.
Up front, the Bearcats, through graduation, some injury situations, not as much veteran leadership as you'd probably like going into the year, but two solid starters returning from last year. Quinn Pulaski, Jake Stevenson, guys that will provide veteran leadership for what looks to be a young offensive line.
And it is going to be a young offensive line. No excuse for what we're trying to do, but it's great having both Jake and Quinn back. Both are tremendous leaders. Jake is a little bit more of the vocal leader on that group. But both are, getting the other guys in right positions, making sure that we understand, where blitzes are coming from, which way we're sliding the line, just even coming off the field, maybe even a little, pat on the back or kick in the butt, to get everybody else on the same page. So those two guys are doing a phenomenal job up front.
With having so many young guys in the mix on offense, how has preseason camp worked to your advantage in terms of getting these guys the reps that they need?
Well, this year, really it's the same as every year, but this year we really wanted to focus on the details, the small things, especially when you have a young group. We wanted to continue to create a culture of a blue-collarness, continue to work hard, lots of effort, do it for the team, not for yourself, because you're almost having to reteach that to guys that have not gotten a lot of playing time in a game. Also holding on to the ball, a lot of turnover type circuits, in practice to make sure that we're holding on to the ball and make sure the quarterbacks know where to go with the football so that we're not throwing interceptions, and really making sure that we at least hold on to it. We might be a little bit young in some positions, but we're definitely not giving it back to the defense. So hopefully that'll continue as we roll through.
Coach, thanks for your assessment of the offensive unit. We'll have other previews to assess the defense, special teams, and we'll talk about 2019.
Appreciate it.
Don't forget, catch our other two parts of our three-part season preview. Part 2 will feature the Bearcats defense, while the third part will be special teams and the overall outlook for 2019.